At Your End Step is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And Dave.
Hi.
And we have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. It's weird. We're podcasting on Labor Day, so happy Labor Day to all people that celebrate the holiday. And it's 1:35 in the afternoon, and we're podcasting, so it's definitely not something we're used to. But we figured if we have some extra time, we might as well, try to record a bit earlier in the week and get it out of the way. And maybe get you guys an episode a little bit earlier than usual, but no commitments. If you're listening to us on Wednesday or Thursday, then you got what you expected.
You'll know whether Morgan's a liar or not.
Yep, correct.
If you listen to this.
I'm not. It's not a promise. It's a maybe. So if you got it early, though, hey, it looks like I felt like doing something a little bit better for you. But we, of course, have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. The biggest Midwest tournament happened over the weekend. It was the Dave Nolan Cube Invitational. So at the top of the show, I want to give a shout-out to the winner, which is Bobby Colgrove. So congratulations on being 2017's Cube Invitational champion.
Yeah, former Legacy Open champion.
Yeah, and now you finally have the real treat, the real tournament.
He's got the real prize.
Yeah, exactly. So very excited to see what card he brews up.
Welcome to the club, bud.
Yep. And maybe one day you can try to do it twice, but only one person has that mantle still.
Feels good. Still feels really good.
I top 8 in the tournament. We all top 8 in the tournament, actually. So, yeah. I would have mediocre 3-3 and somehow sum it up in like 6th place, so I'll take it.
I have 5-1. I was the 1 seed.
Yeah. You had a pretty good couple drafts.
Yeah, I did a good couple of drafts. It seemed like people were like scared of playing against me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good at Magic.
Like
it
I
turns
forced
out.
them into like some bad decisions.
I'm that's not my place to comment on. I'm not really sure what that whole situation was about. We can elaborate that in our question of the week, though. I'm sure. But yeah, it was a great time, and I can't wait till next year. I'm already like it is the best like I've done at a Cube Invitational. I got top 4, which felt great. Man, I'm hungry. I'm hungry for that card. I want to make that card.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I think this year went pretty well. I think the format that we did was better than it has been in years past, where we just did 2 regular drafts and then a Rochester top 8. So I think that's probably how we'll do it going forward, because I think it just makes the most sense.
Now we just got to figure out how to get rid of Rochester draft, and then we'll be fine.
Oh, I have the answer.
We'll be perfect.
Rotisserie.
I like chickens. I like chickens that are rotisserie.
Come on, let's rotisserie that top 8.
No.
Get some potatoes in
We
there.
got the table space.
We do have the table space, but I don't know.
Oh man, please.
Gotta mix it up.
Doctor.
Gotta do something.
It's like the one draft format that takes actually longer than Rochester. Rotisserie.
Yep, I did it.
Hey, you gotta. It takes time to cook that chicken real well. So gotta do what you gotta do, man. But yeah, it was fun, and can't wait till it happens again.
And shout out to Ryan and Comic Town for
Correct.
allowing us to use the
space.
store space for that.
It was perfect.
As always. I mean, this is the 8th one. We've always had it at Comic Town.
But it was just so nice to have it at that store, like, because there's so many like good food options around. Like we had our nice like mid draft break and got to go to like Hothead Burritos, and like just it's so good. It's so great. I love the new store.
I'm glad you guys got a break.
Oh, hey.
It's always like
we offered to get you food. So.
No, it's fine. It's always like a crazy day for me, especially in that, because like I have to shuffle the cubes. So like first draft is over and like you guys get a bit of a break, and I'm just shuffling and doing stuff to get the next draft set up.
I would have brought you food. I offered to bring you food.
No, I know. I got food. Somebody got me food.
I tried though.
I'm just saying, like I'm constantly. I don't really get any breaks in that tournament, which is fine. It's it's my thing. I'm not complaining. I'm just
It's like the culmination of your hard work. You get to like really test out the cube, really test out its strengths. So it's always a fun event.
And it was cool because for those that don't know, like I have duplicate copies of my cube, so I actually have 2 copies of the cube so that we could accommodate upwards of 20 players, if we needed to. And this year we did interpod play. So I actually played a mirror match
Yeah.
where, me and my opponent had a lot of the same cards, which is kind of weird when you're playing live cube draft. Like, you see that on Magic Online a bunch, now with the leagues, but not so much in real life cube draft. So it was kind of a unique thing that way as well. So.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump in. Let's get to the community topics. So first and foremost, we do have we're going to get our first preview of what Magic the Gathering Arena is going to be, or Magic Arena. I don't even know if they have the Gathering tag after it, but whatever. Which is the first sort of product to come out of the Magic Digital Next umbrella, and that's going to be Thursday. It's going to be previewed on Twitch on the 7th. So I know a lot of people are fairly excited to see what this is, judging from the small bits that we have seen. Theoretically, it does seem like it's going to be more of a Magic Duels replacement more than a Magic Online replacement, and more than likely something that's going to try to go after Hearthstone, I think, which will be interesting to see like how they go about it. If it's still too duels-like, then I don't think you're really going to get anything from that, but at the very least, it'll likely be something that you can play on a bunch of different platforms, which will be nice.
And I think we touched on this. This was a long time ago when they first announced like Magic Digital Next, and we were kind of speculating on like, what is this going to be? And I think like one of the things we discussed was, are they going to make like a different style of Magic game where it's like you don't have exactly the same rules as like your Magic the Gathering game, and like you said, like something to compete with Hearthstone. So I guess we'll find out this week. But
Digital Battle Box.
It could be like that. I think that like is an idea that could potentially happen. I think like it's going to be a little bit less than maybe in the middle. Maybe you have a different like size of a deck, but you don't necessarily have to worry about mana. Maybe you do get something like that.
So it's
where
like
they can.
Yeah. So you're saying like everything, like the lore, mana, everything with Magic is Magic, but it actually plays out differently than a normal Magic the Gathering game.
Yes.
I guess we'll find out. We still don't know right now, but less than a week away.
It could literally just be like
It could just be duels.
like it could just be like $5, and you got all these cool like wallpapers. So
Magic Arena football. Sorry, we left out the last part, so now we know it's lame. I get it. Sweet dig at arena football. Sorry for all the arena football fans around there.
Garrick's definitely like the best free safety in the league. He just don't go over the middle.
Well, the only issue is he does murder other players, though. So that's rough.
Yeah,
lots of
He's currently serving a suspension for PEDs.
got that hedron in him, keeping him in one place. But we'll kind of see what that is, and then once we figure it out, we'll wrap our heads around it and talk about it a little bit when we can. Also, over the weekend, we had the PAX panel. So it was PAX West, I believe. And Magic has typically a somewhat of a presence there. I heard from a lot of people it was less, but that's more than likely due to HasCon, which is this weekend, I believe.
yes, I can Google.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, PAX West has been like really the big kind of jumping off point to spoiler season. So like they used to do the PAX party where they would have the giant cards, and this is kind of what set was it? They did it for a couple different sets, but
I mean they done it for everything. This is like where we got expeditions for BFZ. We usually have the PAX party with this is where we got like fetch lands were confirmed for cons and stuff like that. And now that we have HasCon, I expect that their presence to be smaller, which we kind of saw, but we still did have a panel. The panel was kind of cool. We did get the new Planeswalker from the set, so we'll talk about that here in a second. But I kind of wanted to talk about an interesting sort of story and flavor tidbit about Ixalan. So they went over all the races and all the theming and stuff like that. So it's very Mesoamerican themed. But we also have the vampires who are sort of conquistador themed. Dinosaurs are just dinosaurs, pirates, and pirates are cool and everything like that. But the actual location of Ixalan seems to be a pseudo prison for planeswalkers. There is this binding that is kind of represented in an actual story card called Ixalan's Binding, which is a pretty okay O-ring effect that prevents people from playing a card with the same name as the exiled card under it. Which, okay, that's cool. But planeswalkers cannot leave Ixalan at this point in time. Like, it is like referenced in a Nether card's flavor text that the new planeswalker is talking and saying like they can't actually leave. The Golden Gale keeps forcing them back, and that is why Jace. There's a basic land set in this set that has Jace just walking around all the different lands. So because he can't planeswalk, so he has to just walk.
I like the concept that he's just like the John Travolta meme, just like all these lands.
Yeah, he's just like, what? Huh? And so he definitely it is definitely a set that is focused around Jace. But this is kind of him at his lowest, I guess. Like he's just like super duper kind of lost. And it's kind of sad and it's kind of interesting. The idea of like, you can come here, but once you're here, you're stuck. So I'm excited to see kind of how that plays out because they haven't really done this before. Planeswalkers have like lost their spark and everything like that, but not just been like, well, I'm marooned. So
yeah, it's interesting.
And it's very flavorful. Obviously, there's pirates and like you get deserted islands and stuff, and you get it's very nice. It's a nice touch.
Somehow make it kind of make sense that you have pirates and dinosaurs on the same plane.
I mean,
I don't know. Like,
do you have to rectify that? I don't know. I don't.
Come on, it doesn't make sense that there's like dinosaurs and pirates. I mean, at least in the last set we had like 4 different types of mummies, and that made sense. We had because of the class system of the mummies, but this is ridiculous.
I think it's kind of nice flavorfully because if you look at the colors that the dinosaurs and the dinosaur riders, what word am I looking for here?
No idea.
The
Pirate?
indigenous, right?
Okay.
They're all Naya colored. So Naya in Shards was also heavily influenced by Mesoamerica as well. So they are continuing to play up that idea of these colors combined typically represent sort of a consistent theme across planes even, which is pretty cool for their world building team to kind of pull off. So Naya is always about big beasts and kind of worshipping them to some degree, which is a pretty nifty thing to kind of pull out of the set comparatively to other sets that are going on. But yeah, that was the coolest thing that I got from the PAX panel. They also have a lot of the stuff all the artwork and the world building stuff. They show a lot of that. So if you want to see cool vampires and conquistador armor and stuff like that, you can check that out on I don't know if they have the world building stuff released yet. There's probably going to be a clipped out.
There's a VOD.
video.
There's a VOD of the panel.
Perfect. So you can go check that out.
You can go watch on the Twitch stream.
But the big thing that was kind of shown was Huatli, Warrior Poet, which is the new planeswalker from Ixalan, and they're pretty dope. They are red white, and they make a green dinosaur. To really hit home the flavor on that. But they are 3 generic and a red and white, so they are red. And the third red white planeswalker we've had past the Johnny Vengeance in Nahiri. And they come in with 3 loyalty counters. They are a legendary planeswalker Huatli. They have a +2, and the +2 is you gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So sadly, Ulamog is biting the dust. You can no longer, gain 10 off of him. Is there anything else? You have the Metalwork Colossus, right? There you go. Get that bad boy out. Gain some life.
Yeah. I think that's it in standard.
I think so. Unless there's another dinosaur that comes out. I mean, we still got time.
But we do.
At the very least, the largest they could be is 2020, right? Because they can't be bigger than the comet. that hits them and wipes them out.
So somebody has said that this works really well with Sarah Avatar.
Oh dang, yeah. I bet that does work pretty well. And you have a 0, and the 0 is where you make the 3/3 dinosaur that's green and has trample. And then the last ability, I'm not going to say the ultimate, but the last ability might sound somewhat familiar. It says this planeswalker deals X damage divided as you choose amongst a number of target creatures. Creatures that are dealt damage this way can't block this turn. It doesn't hit players, right? I'm not crazy.
It does not hit players.
Okay, just creatures. Just the way I had it worded.
And it's the X is because it's a -X for loyalty.
Correct. It's a -X. So not necessarily an ultimate. Can be theoretically, but a way that you can do that. Hit a bunch of like creatures, kill tokens, make sure like other bigger creatures can't block it, and swing in with your big bad dinos. So.
Yeah, it seems like maybe it's a little expensive. 5 for 3 loyalty is tough. The +2 is not exciting. But 0 to pump out dinosaurs is exciting. And that minus can just like win the game off the top. So
right.
And I like this because like you could have looked at that casting cost and just be like, here's another generic 5-mana walker. But this is not. This is pretty unique. So
yeah.
It's a little different. I'm not that excited about this one.
It's tough. The dinosaurs are what you gotta be excited about, man.
That's true. And you knew Mike was gonna be like, I'll give this a chance. It's red and white.
Oh yeah, it's red and white.
It's a 5-mana red-white card.
Plus,
so, yeah.
plus we still have Chandra. Plus we have a card we're gonna talk about next, which is hilarious. We've picked out all these cards of the spoilers to talk about for the Palooza. We have to talk about this next card. We have to.
Because it just this happened. This is breaking news. But right before we started the cast, Lightning Strike. It's back. It's back. You thought that open fire, that was a pretty good juke, huh? Pretty good juke. Push you off the trail. Lightning strike. Bam. 3 damage to your dome.
My bean.
My bean. It's an uncommon now, though. So obviously, they had to put it in line at the very least with open fire. Open fire is common. There you go.
Yeah, you cut a mana to make it uncommon. Lightning bolts now are rare.
Clearly, mythic rare. Let's be real, mythic rare. But this is pretty substantial news. And as the avid Red player, I curse Watsy for making me excited about Lightning Strike being back in the format. But Red has been good, most certainly, and people were kind of questioning whether it would still be able to sustain after rotation. And Lightning Strike is what that deck needed. It was like, clearly just a actual better incendiary flow. I mean, you don't have the Rider of Exile, and that might affect a few of your matchups. There's some good creatures that you really want to exile.
You still have Magma Spray.
Exactly.
So
and we are actually getting like some other graveyard hate still in this set. Theoretically, it's not great, but it's there.
They're just catching up. It's like all the graveyard hate that should have been in like Shadows block. They're now printing it. As Shadows of
is leaving, is exiting, yes. But this is an uncommon. It's really weird to kind of give a really big shout out to an uncommon, but this is a very big deal. This affects like how you build your removal suite, because now we have a lot of 1 in a red removal spells in the format. We still have Hardness Lightning, we have a Braid, and now we have Lightning Strike, all at instant speed, and all are contextually very different. So it'll be interesting to see where people kind of go. Lightning Strike, I think, being able to hit face is pretty important for the aggressive decks. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally, Lightning Strike's going to go in your aggressive red decks just because of the ability to go upstairs.
Yep.
I think, a Braid is still the most versatile, and being able to tag vehicles and things like that. And then, Harness Lightning, if you're playing energy, you're going to play that because of the ability to, potentially have some energy left over from that, or being able to hit, a giant creature if you have energy already. So, they'll do different things, but I think it's pretty easy to see kind of like what decks they're going to go into in general,
Mm-hmm. But cool. Shout out to Lightning Strike. Thank you for, thank you, Wizards. Thank you, Watsy. I think Sam Stodd personally revealed this one, so personal thanks to him. Don't even know how much he really had involved with it, but I'm gonna thank the messenger this time. So that's pretty much it for community. We did kind of touch lightly on it, but HasCon is this weekend as well, so that's a pretty big important thing. Could be a lot of stuff that comes out of that. This is the first time we get to see 25th anniversary Masters, right?
Oh yeah.
Which we probably won't see the whole set, but we get a lot of it.
I'd say shockingly we haven't had any spoilers from that yet.
Not at all.
It didn't get ruined. Yeah. So good job.
Yeah.
Not ruining
ever since
that.
WotC started executing people who leak.
Yeah.
Things have gotten a lot better.
That's terrible.
What?
I don't want to accuse WotC of killing people.
I'm not accusing them.
It's just fact. It's just you just said it
Nope,
so matter of fact.
It's just a fact. I mean, there's not an accusation. It is.
It's a statement of truth.
I'm not accusing you of
Even better. Statements of Mike do not reflect the opinions of that hearing. So.
Oh man, it's been a while since we had to do that.
Yeah, it's very true.
I think it's been since Jordan was on the cast.
Probably.
I think no, that's not true. We should have issued one for our inability to say words.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, that's all of us. That does accurately reflect, unfortunately, us as human beings. So that's unfortunate.
I sat across from him, by the way, during deck construction last weekend.
Nice.
And I was just like, I hope you don't know who I am. Looking at my shirt, my Atranso shirt, I was like,
please,
know who I am.
I'm stranger.
Morgan's here. I can show you him.
It's his fault.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying it wouldn't be bad for WotC to have a little bit of edge to their announcements. Hey, don't do this.
Don't do this, or else
you're not going to hear from this guy again. He's being handled by top men.
Do you think so? So, Dave, I know you get excited about these master sets because of potential rarity shifts.
Yeah.
Do you hope that there's some rarity shifts in this one? I mean, obviously, yes, you do hope, but
yeah. I think when it comes to Cube, obviously you kind of make your own rules, and you can kind of quote unquote cheat sometimes. So, for example, in my Cube, I have cards that were printed in Vintage Masters, which was a Magic Online only set, that were downshifted. So I've included a couple of those in my Cube. So technically, it was never printed in a paper set, but I'll still go off of that. And really, it's just kind of the spirit of it anyway. If the card is on the power level of a good uncommon, but some of the older cards maybe didn't really need to be rare.
Right, the rarity skewed higher.
So they actually make sense. So yeah, I'll be paying attention, and we'll see what they have. If they make sense, then yeah, sure.
That's awesome. I'm excited. I hope they do some crazy rarity shifts. I feel like did Modern Masters 2017 have some good ones? I feel like it.
There was Parwild Shaman.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. Mystic Genesis was one.
Yeah, Mystic Genesis is sweet too.
Goblin. What was the enchantment there? Goblin Assault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are all cool. They're all right.
Yeah, those three sizable ones to go in the cube. So awesome. All right, before we jump into talk about the two GPs that happened over the weekend, let's give a shout out to Comic Town. They're going to be hosting a Legacy Expo on September 30th. So come on down and try to queue for that year-end tournament and play some Legacy. It's a $1,000 tournament for a format that doesn't necessarily get a whole lot of a tournament space. So definitely show your support and play some show and tells, play some lightning bolts because they're legal in that format.
I might play in that. I need a queue still, so may have to go play some Legacy.
I don't think I would sort of do very well in that tournament. I play Burn. That's the only thing I would play in the tournament.
Yeah, it's fine.
Price of progress people out in the game.
It's a deck.
Oh, the game. So definitely check that out on their website. You can do a search for them on Facebook, Comic Town Gaming Center, and that's where you can see all their lovely event page. So competitive. We had two standard GPs, GP Turin and GP DC. We're going to talk about Turin first. It was won by Bobby Dollar, as I heard, as Dave heard him. That's what people call him, much to his chagrin.
Yeah, Bobby Dollars.
Bobby Dollar, Robin Dollar took down the tournament playing blue-black control, right?
Blue-black control. with the Scarab God
and Torrential Gearhulk, which that's pretty good. Rebuying your Torrential Gearhulks is pretty okay, especially when you just have like a pile of removal spells and counter spells, and that's kind of what this deck looks like. It's out there. It's crazy. It's not something you would typically see, and here it is, winning taking down an entire GP, which is awesome. It really proves that Wizards, definitely did make some good decisions as far as like banning cards, and then like Amika and Outright Devastation really did some good things to the format to really get these weird decks out of there. And we are close to rotation, so it's nice to see that Standard is back to being good, and hopefully once it rotates, it'll remain that way. But I have some confidence about that. He defeated Leon Vander Linden, playing Marty Vehicles in the finals. But then we have like Mono Black Zombies, Team Air Energy, Approach of the Second Sun, and MTG Goldfish. That's what the name of the deck. Like, that's not really descriptive. That's just a card name, but it's blue-white, I assume. And then a Team Air Energy, and then Jeskai Godfair's Gift. So we have the two Team Air Energy lists, but everything else is really really different. Oh, and red white vehicles. I think I skipped over that one, but just red white vehicles.
Yeah, actually, just red white. I think if you look at the top 8 overall, I think you notice a lack of mono red, which was a little surprising. But real quick, going back to the winning blue black list, this is a deck that I know Gabriel Nassif has been streaming with a little bit and been messing around with. I don't know if he got his list from Nassif or not, but the Scarab God is just a house, and we have seen that show up in some teamer lists. I know, Morgan, you played a teamer list splashing Scarab God, right?
Scarab God, just right. It's a great Magic card. Tell you what,
it's just super powerful, and like you could say, on its own, sure, you need creatures in the graveyards, but that's going to happen. But that card is just ridiculous. I mean, if you get down a Scarab God on any kind of reasonable board, it's just going to take over the game very quickly. Yeah,
and like it just your opponent can have creatures, and like turning some creatures, like even if they're small, into 4/4s, it's just fine. Like, obviously, Gearhulks are all very, very good. When you turn them into copies of them, they still have ETB effects. It's still very good. So they're it's not hard to make the Scarab God very, very
Sometimes they get
well.
even bigger.
Sometimes. And just being able to do it at instant speed as well, right? Yeah, instant speed. So,
well, I mean, even just the body, just a 5/5. So a 5-mana 5/5. I mean, you look at the removal in the format. You have, a Braid, Fatal Push, Grasp of Darkness. None of these cards kill the Scarab God. And a lot of times what you see is, from what I saw, basically like the only way to get rid of it is like maybe get it involved in combat and then finish it off with a burn spell. And then, like, use Scavenging Grounds to exile graveyards. It's like, that's a lot of work to get rid of one card. And if you don't, then, like, if you get to untap the Scarab God, you're probably going to win most of those games. So, this is a card, I thought, out of all the 3 gods that we saw in Hour of Devastation, I thought this was the best one for Constructed. And I think going forward, as we see more of Ixalan, I think the Scarab God will be a big part of the next, will be a big part of Standard for as long as it's instant.
Yeah, that's a card if you should look to, it's already, fairly expensive.
Yeah.
But if you may not need, a whole play set, you may only need a couple.
Like 2 or 3.
Yeah. And, but I would put that on your radar as a card definitely to obtain. Especially with it already seeing play in like Team Air Energy, and that deck being very resilient to rotation anyway. So if that's the direction you want to go with it, then
yeah.
And the blue-black deck, should be noted, is also pretty resilient to rotation.
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah, I mean, you lose Grasp, which is pretty big, but we may be getting another black removal. We don't know yet. And I guess you do lose. You lose some key sideboard cards, like Liliana and Kalidas are pretty big.
You also lose the 2 that dual land, Sunken Hollow and Choked Estuary, but you do get Drowned Catacombs.
Yeah, that's kind of a wash, but
I get it.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to talk about Scarab God because that card was pretty ridiculous. So.
It is, yes, for sure ridiculous. I wanted to take a look at this red white vehicles list because they're deciding to not play any black, so we don't see anything like unlicensed disintegration. We don't see Scrap Heap Scrounger in the main or the side, obviously. So. We see like Stasis Snare be sort of the thing. We actually are going harder on vehicles as well with 4 Hearts and 4 Aether Sphere Harvester, playing some Depalas as well.
I think it's an interesting choice to not play at least Scrap Heap Scrounger. You know what I mean? Like, even if you're just playing, as that is your only quote-unquote black card, which you don't even technically need black mana for, I think that's fine. And, it's not going to be too hard on the mana. Like, you don't even necessarily need to be playing Fatal Push or Unlicensed Disintegration, but he's basically playing like Glory Bound Initiate over it, I guess, or veteran, or a combination of that and Veteran Motorist.
Yeah,
just it's an interesting take on it. Like, I understand, I guess your mana is better, but I don't think you really need to go that far out of the way to splash a couple black sources.
Yeah, this doesn't seem better to me, but I don't know, I guess.
Obviously, he did pretty well with it, but I don't know. It was strange to see that.
It is interesting to see like you see the Ramanop Ruins in the deck as well. So maybe there's a little bit of elements where they might have had some reach potentially.
Yeah,
towards the end where they just need to push over some damage. But again, with Unlicensed Disintegration, you would have that already.
Yeah, you have that as well. So
good on Elaine Bardini for trying something a little bit off the beaten path and having success with it. And red white vehicles, like I don't know. Back when Smuggler's Copter was a thing, like I have that deck was great. Mike and I played it at an open, and it was a lot of fun. So, rest in peace, Smuggler's Copter. Never forget.
I'm fairly proud to be part of the first top 8 with that card that had every possible copy. It felt really good, actually. It's like, yeah, we did it. We surely showed Wizards.
We figured out the trick. Play the broken card. I think like when we talk about GPDC and Matt Severa's list, you'll kind of see like how far you can push the mana. And this kind of archetype. So,
any other decks from the top 16 that we wanted to highlight or take a look? Obviously, there's a lot of teamer energy in the top 16. When we take a look at everything as a whole. I know there's a mono white Eldrazi list piloted by Lucas Blowhone, but we'll talk about that actually in GPDC. And some ramen up red still showing up, but definitely not as prevalent. But nothing else too exciting from my end.
I was excited to see Godfrey's gift get there. So.
Yeah.
I think it has been like a deck that's been good, but has felt like fringy. And like getting a top 8 here is pretty good with
Simon
Nielsen. Yeah.
And he actually is playing something that I haven't seen in other lists. He's playing Hollow One.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of Hollow One in these decks, especially if you're playing like he's got Champion of Woods and Cathartic Reunion. So,
yeah, that's pretty spicy. Otherwise, yeah, pretty similar to kind of what we've seen here. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see, is this deck losing anything? I guess you lose Neonate.
You lose Neonate, and that's
pretty big.
Pretty much it.
So
here's the thing, though. It's actually not. Like, Neonate's good for this build, but I think like Godfrey's Gift is going to be a strategy to look at directly after rotation because it's really not losing very much.
So potentially, but in there was a Magic MTG Goldfish article that came out that talked about this. The Spyglass, the pseudo Pithing Needle, does do some damage to it due to the fact that Gate to the Afterlife. Like that is one of your main ways to get out your gift.
You can adjust to that.
Well, you can
just play a Braids or something.
Braids.
You can also already play a
Refurbish. You go hard on that angle a little bit more too.
I've gone hard on my ankle. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
I will say that like you already could be doing that. Like you could be doing the
Gideons, whatever.
No, I'm saying like as far as hating out this deck, you have the I'm trying to remember the card, the Ruin something Condemnation. I can't remember.
Crook of Condemnation.
Thank you. Like, you could already like be hating on this deck if you want to. Like that this deck actively has a really, really hard time beating an active Crook. Like, it doesn't do much. Like, you just like play guys, right? Which is fine because you can play the Angel, but like the Spyglass / Pithing Needle, like we were begging for that to be an answer when you had like Marvel, because Marvel was ubiquitous, but needles tend to be average effects when they're not ubiquitous. And like, so yes, Spyglass is a good answer to this deck, but like, how many can you justifiably run? And that becomes a metagame thing. So like,
it is a card that is good against this, but I don't think it's a reason to not play it.
right.
No, I just think a new card coming in that you have to adjust for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And depending on how ubiquitous that card is, I think this deck can adjust. I mean, there's different things. Like I said, you can play a Braids, whatever, if that's something that you're worried about, or refurbish to kind of get around it, whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I think like the core of the deck will still be around, and it's probably going to be a player in the next standard format. So
I gotta tell you, I really like the Keftin's Last Word out of the sideboard. One, because it makes me happy to just see that card see play. But this deck can do a couple of cool things with that card. Like, one, once you have a gift going, it doesn't really matter sometimes if your land is on tap. Like, you're still essentially casting a big spell. But, like, it gives you an answer to some, like, troublesome things, especially, like, the Scarab God.
Yeah.
They're just like, you know what? It's mine now. And that feels pretty good. So, anyways, we can move to Washington and D.C. I just, I like God Pharaoh's Gift. I've already been sort of playing around with what you could do with it post-rotation. I started with the blue-black version, the cycling version, which is why I like Hollow One, but I like that card a lot.
All right. Let's move over to GPDC. The tournament was won by
Matt Severa.
Yeah, Matt Severa.
yeah, I didn't link the deck list, so I'm doing that now. Sorry about that.
You're good. Tournament was won by Matt Severa, playing Marty Vehicles. Like I said, we were going to talk about that and kind of how he decided to push the mana base of it. But Corey Baumeister kind of gets top listing in this, because this is his third straight GP top 8 with 3 different decks. And as I alluded to, he actually played mono white Eldrazi here in this tournament. So we definitely want to take a look at that list. But let's look at Marty Vehicles. Let's look at Matt Severa here first.
So the thing that jumped out to me immediately was Thought Not Seer in the main.
That's
Which
spicy.
We have not seen that in Vehicles lists.
Also, Gideon on the board.
Yeah, no 0 Gideon's Bane. So he's essentially playing Thought Not Seer over Gideon in the main deck. And in order to be able to play those Thought Not Seers, I mean, he's playing some amount of deserts.
Yeah, so we see Deadlands and and a couple of Shephet Dunes. Mm-hmm. On top of you're already playing Aether Hub.
You have Aether Hub, you have Spire of Industry, which is able to add colorless. So
and Ramen Up Ruins.
Yeah. So
plenty, really a healthy amount of colorless sources to pull off playing Thought Knots here. So again, the Eldrazi are they're saying, hey, we did stuff. In standard, specifically.
Don't you
Yeah.
forget about me. That's like, it's an interesting build of it, and God, I wish I just cared. I don't know. Like, I was just like, I wash my hands of this. Like, why?
Done. No more modern vehicles.
Hey, I made vehicles better. I added Eldrazi. Huh? No. You know what? No. Die, Zendikar. Die as a block.
Get out of here. Please.
I will say, with Matt, so we talk about, Corey Baumeister top 8ing 3 GPs in a row with 3 different decks. Matt Severa is kind of on the opposite side of that, where he just plays this deck. Like, he's just played Marty Vehicles basically for like the last year. He won a GP about a year ago, playing the same deck, or the same archetype anyway. And, I guess it kind of shows you can kind of do it both ways. But good on him. There's a funny tweet out there where he had messaged Jerry Thompson like, hey, if you want to win the tournament, play this deck, which was like prior to the tournament. And then Jerry was like, oh, I wish I listened to him. But so kind of a called shot there.
So we also see that in second place we have another interesting thing that we might see all the time, which is green-white ramp piloted by Collins Mullen. And we normally see this in a green-red variant, but we see the white here for things like fumigate, descend upon the sinful, and cast out, and Raven Inspector. I'm worth it. Just
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, hey, you're kind of like a speed bump, and you draw me a card, so why not? But yeah, Linvala even showing up too. That's kind of sweet. Got that authority of the consoles in the sideboard. Hey, what's up, Red?
And for real caracals.
Yeah, Kitty Cat wants to play.
Yeah. Also, Oblivion Sower, which
Man,
we haven't seen that
goodie.
one. Yeah, that one is. I actually just completely forgot was in the format. And then I watched a match where he attacked with an Ulamog and then cast Oblivion Sower and put 10 lands into play. So that was kind of cool.
Now, to be fair, how that works.
To be fair, if Ulamog's attacking, you probably wouldn't anyway. But it was cool.
Hey, there's no one saying you can't win more. All right.
Yeah, but Collins Mullen is kind of an up and comer. We've seen him on the SCG circuit a lot. Doing good work there with Escape Shift.
Yeah.
Variants and modern. So the man likes to ramp. Let's put it that way. He likes to play Hour of Promise in all formats, I guess. He was kind of the one that innovated Hour of Promise in modern as well. So, yeah.
I do have to say, this may also be the future of ramp. We were talking, I think Morgan and I were talking a little before cast. This is one of those decks that does, when you let's talk about rotation, the threats leave, like Ulamog, World Breaker, but most of the other stuff sticks around. The Hour of Promises and your ways to do this. He's playing Weirding Woods, so you do lose that, but you could fill in with the cycling one.
I think there's a lot of decks where you could say it doesn't get hurt by rotation. I don't think you could say that.
No.
With this.
I didn't say it didn't get hurt. Be careful. Did not say
well,
that.
you're saying
so it becomes dinosaur ramp. And they just spoiled the 8-mana dinosaur that when it comes to the play, it destroys all non-dinosaur creatures. So it's a 7/7 and you ramp that way. So it's a different type of deck.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm saying like the tools to play a ramp deck are still there. You lose the finishers, so you have to change your style. But I think a lot of people are pretty excited about the fact that you could just take the shell and then add dinosaurs, which I don't know how often you can say that and then just not have a giant smile on your face, right? It's like you take this deck and you add dinosaurs.
Sprinkle in some dinosaurs.
Yeah, okay.
Just sprinkle in some dino DNA.
Dino DNA. Oh my god. So it's just the salt meme, but it's actually just like little DNA.
Yeah.
It's So no, I'm not saying it's just as good, but I'm saying there is hope for ramp when we're talking about Eldrazi leaving.
Sure. I mean, I think with the ramp deck, it's really. You really have to see how the format looks. I don't think you can just jam ramp into an unknown format. I don't think you're going to do that well. But once you know what to play around, I mean, there's a reason why he's playing Thraben Inspector in this deck.
Absolutely.
It seems out of place, but he's just I need something to do in the first couple of turns because the deck doesn't do anything for the first.
He changed the base color of his ramp deck to play the best deck or the best card in the format.
Yeah.
We understand what he did.
Yeah, no, it's clear as day. Much like the Thraben Inspector, we've figured it out.
Yeah, we've investigated.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good run. Unfortunately, it's hard to beat a turn 4 kill, which is what happened in the finals. But
fair enough. Should we talk about Mr. Baumeister then?
Oh, of course. Mono White Eldrazi in 4th place. And this is a sort of a deck that has existed. When Mono Red was around, there was this variant that was Mono White, and it kind of got some coverage. It kind of got some play, but this was its tournament. This was its sort of a last hurrah, as it were. And it did some stuff. It did some work for sure.
This is the Jonathan Job special. So
yes.
we saw week 1 standard. Jonathan Job played the mono red deck with the Eldrazi's in it, and then we saw him quickly switch over to this style of deck, which I believe he top 32 to GP with the next week.
Yes.
And it's kind of been out there, but I think he was the only one playing it.
No, Eric Hawkins has been playing this.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
he's been playing his stream of this deck a bunch too.
Okay, well, as far as just finishes and GPs, because I believe Jonathan Job did well at the next GP as well. I want to say,
yeah.
But anyway,
Jonathan Joe played it in Denver,
Yeah.
from what I can see.
But it's put up some decent finishes, and then I think Corey and Brad Nelson and co. hit them up a little bit for for some advice maybe. I don't know how their list looks to what Jonathan was playing, but
Right.
Certainly very similar.
Yeah, we also had Seth Manfield playing Mono White Eldrazi this tournament as well.
Is that like the new Rat Pack? Like he's just got
Baumeister Manfield.
Yeah. BBD in there.
Yeah, BBD in there. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe Lucas Bohan hit him up. Hey guys, I want to win the GP. What should I play over in turn?
Yeah. But there's I know on the MTG Reddit, go there at your own risk, obviously. But there was a clip of him having a pretty good play with spawning Bed and Avacyn, and being able to clear his opponent's board and have a flipped Avacyn on his end, which is pretty nice, obviously. And this deck looks pretty cool. This is like the last hurrah for a lot of all stars that were in the format. You have Inspector again. You have Selfless Spirit, all the Eldrazi, Archangel Avacyn, Declaration in Stone.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say this deck is not going to survive.
This deck does not survive post rotation.
I think Walking Ballista is like the only card.
Well, if you just take dinosaurs.
You just take dinosaurs, you're fine. Yeah, there's some white ones. Just get them in there. Yeah, there's literally Walking Ballista, Cast Out,
Planes.
Aether Hub, Planes,
Shepherd Dunes.
Yeah. The mana base is almost fully intact except for Spawning Bed. Other than that, you can play 2 spells. No, but yeah, this is obviously playing a lot of individually powerful cards. Archangel Avacyn is just a great card. Thought-Knot Seer is a great card. And you do have some synergies there. Like you said, you have the Spawning Bed or just, the Eldrazi Scions in general, being able to trigger your Avacyns. You have Walking Ballista being able to do the same thing, but also just being a good card. So just a good, high quality of individual cards, which usually is a pretty good indicator of a deck being good.
So, is there any other deck you want to talk about from this tournament specifically?
I don't think so. We did see the I think the only difference is there's a green black energy list piloted by Bolon Zhang. That's the only thing that really jumps out at me as being different than what we saw at Turin.
It's a lot of red and a lot of Team Energy.
Yeah, so we did see red. There was one in the top 8, right?
Yeah,
Jose Neris.
They're all in 8th place, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think the expectation was that the 2 biggest decks would have been Mono Red and Teamer Energy, since it won the last GP, and we got winners of Blue Black Control and Mardu Vehicles, and I think proving Mike's point that vehicles were still good in the format.
Yep. Weird.
Potentially could continue being. New vehicles, man. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, if they're already showing you a version of the deck that doesn't need Gideons in the main to win a tournament, yes, it had Thought-Knot Seer, but the rest of the creatures don't really leave outside of Three Inspector is a big loss. Don't get me wrong, because it brings its own artifact to the party. But you get to keep your removal spells, you get to keep your vehicles, and you get to keep most of the good pilots. So the shell's still there for sure. You do lose man lands though, which again the red-white version showed you that you may not need them. So
yeah.
Well, red-white was playing them, right?
Well, it had Need Aspires in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're playing Need Aspires.
Hoops.
I thought you said hoops for a second.
No, not hoops.
Hoops.
Buckets.
So, seeing as we've been looking at this, I know, Dave, you suggested we talk about this, but this is it, right? This is the last big tournament for Battle, for Oath, for Shadows, for Eldritch Moon, right?
That's it.
We lose them here at the end of the month, and I think this is the last major event with them, GP-wise?
GP-wise, I think they're still an open, technically.
No, the open's at rotation.
Oh, is it?
They set up all their opens to only be at
September the 16th and 17th.
Are you sure? It's standard?
It's
not standard.
It's not standard.
I think it's team.
Yeah, okay. So,
but for most people,
it's a classic. I guess what you're saying.
It's modern, yeah. And there's classic.
Okay, Because like I was gonna say, because they set it up at before, like when the bans were happening, that like standard was having such bad attendance that they switched their second season to only have standard on set releases.
I will say this: if standard is as good post rotation as it is right now, and the people will come back. I mean, I think standard has been pretty
already
good.
come back. I think you saw people. There's some people on Twitter who were saying things like, oh, I wish rotation wasn't happening because like these stop it, get some help. Because I get it. This is a good format right now. It is. There's a lot of fun decks to play, but do you remember Khan's standard when we had fetch lands and we had all the crazy mana bases and stuff? That was Zendikar still. Mm-hmm. They literally tried to make a whole new Magic format out of that, out of those sets because of it. Like, please be done. So I guess we're gonna say here is, this is the time to say goodbye. Right?
I think so. Fun fact: the release weekend, which is September 30th through October 1st, that open is standard. You were right. So, and then there wasn't another standard open until the Grand Prix is not an open, but the Grand Prix until November.
Yeah.
Hosted by Star City. So interesting. And Team Constructed is the open afterwards. So
what made that a fun fact?
I don't know.
Okay, so what cards?
Just confirming what you've said.
Thank you. Okay, whatever. What cards do you want to say goodbye to?
I mean, we all as a cast have agreed Thurban Inspector, the real MVP.
Oh yeah, no, the best. The best.
That's just a given. That's like, obviously. Best card in standard.
Reality Smasher, the colorless Stormbringer Dragon.
That's fair.
Rest in peace. I'll play you in Modern. You won't be forgotten.
I was gonna say I want to add Drowner to hope to that, but like Morgan and I literally have already set it up, so we're both playing those cards in Modern.
Playing in Modern.
So it won't be a long
Good
goodbye.
enough. Nope, not at all. Mainly played that card in Modern anyway.
I was gonna say Tireless Tracker.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
Also Modern playable.
But I guess the real one. I guess the creature lands.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I enjoy those. I mean, they're always really good and somewhat underrated, I would say. But,
I want to say Fevered Visions. I've cast that card a ton of times in Standard. The current Standard deck I was playing, the Riddle Form deck, use it to great. And it just like, I don't know. That was the most enjoyable version of that kind of card, like the Howling Mind type effect that I've gotten to play. And it was a card that sort of like snuck into the set. Like people saw it and were like, okay. But then like consistently since it's been printed, there's been decks that are based around it or feature it very heavily. And I think it was, it's not as splashy as some of the other things, just being this little red and blue enchantment. But I have some good memories.
I didn't get to play with that card nearly enough.
I played multiple decks that was like the blue-red Eldrazi control deck. That 4 of in the sideboard of that deck. So, and I played a little bit of the Emerge deck, and then obviously the one I'm playing now. So, my 4 have been shuffled a lot.
Emrakul the Promise. Oh no, wait, no.
Oh no, I would have said Reflector Mage too. I missed.
Yeah, Reflector Mage, long time ago. been missing in action for a while. Still sad.
So let's talk about the cards that we want to just say good riddance to. I never want to see again. That list would be a lot longer.
Hey,
for me.
Gideon, get out of here.
Hey, Ulamog. Hope I never see you again.
Get out of here. You will. Modern playable.
So is Gideon. But
so is Gideon. The Gideon is like sideboard modern playable.
Yeah, Thought Not Seer. I know I'll be seeing you a lot in modern, but hope
TKS.
Yeah, I'll never see you again in standard, so that's good.
Just as a player who likes to attack with like small flying creatures, a lot of Thopters in this format. The Mother of Spiders.
Oh yeah, Ishkana.
glad you're gone.
More like Ishkanot. Okay.
Boo.
Let's see.
Basically, the whole.
The aberration that was Bruntilda.
Yeah, no, that being like, like one of the people I know that had that like thing happen against me, very sad, not fun, just not fun.
I'm kind of glad that never got caught on as like a big thing because that would have just been obnoxious. So I'm glad that they made it like
the whole concept of it is and was obnoxious,
right? Yeah. I'm glad that they made him like just not good enough, like. just right there, right on the edge, like just below the line.
I'm super happy not have to play around Archangel Avacyn anymore.
That's totally fair.
So now, if your opponent passes with 5 mana, that just means they don't have anything. Not automatically have Avacyn.
Not automatically have every time.
No. Like literally at the Invitational, I remember that the last of the Invitational, it was just like opponent had holding up this 5 mana, and I was like, "All right, pass turn," and he was like, "Oh, you don't want to attack?" And I'm like, "I've been doing this for 2 years, man." Like,
Yeah.
all right, and he's like, "All right, I'll cast Avacyn." It's like, "Oh, you did it!"
I couldn't believe it. Chandra Flamecaller.
I'll miss.
Yeah, I'll miss that card. And then also Kozilek's Return. Not a fan.
I won't miss it. I am glad that I was definitely very worried. And you go back and listen to those episodes. That card really, really worried me, and it really did what it was built to do when Red Green ramp was really the king of the format early on. It was terrifying. But I do think that effect being an instant at red with the flashback capabilities still is a card that I'm just annoyed exists, and I'm glad it never did. It slowed down. It didn't take over the format like I was afraid it would.
I'm just annoyed that Eldrazi's exist. So
I get
all
that.
of them.
So is the Gatewatch. That's why they burninated them.
See you later.
But I don't think I shout out to all the other Eldrazi's, that
All the other Eldrazi's.
all the other, pour one out for them. They'll live on. Some of them will, and other will die in obscurity. That's fine.
I guess we just have this message for them then.
Yeah.
I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. You get your fill to eat, but always
Ceaseless hunger.
may you never take one single breath for granted.
Sing it.
God forbid love ever leave you empty-handed.
I guess what we're trying to say here is we hope you dance.
We hope you dance. Battle for Zendikar. You've been dancing for a while. Maybe you just take a seat. Maybe you're really tired because you weren't supposed to be. You're at that. You got invited to a party and you're like, well, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave at 11, and now it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, why am I still here?
It's the next day, and it's the guy who didn't ask to stay over, and you're like, oh hey, and he's just making food in your kitchen, right? He's just
I'm gonna be here for a while.
It's I'm real hungry.
You want to go on a hike? Go on a hike later.
Oh, you gotta go to work. I'll drive you. What is this?
Go home. This is my home now.
You have 2 options. This is my home, or I raise it.
But I'm excited. I'm ready for it to be gone. So I think that's all the competitive talk, all the standard focus talk we want to have. Before we jump into our question of the week, I do want to give a shout out to BCW Supplies. They are a lovely sponsor of our show and have some great new products. If you haven't checked out, they have of course, the Elite deck cards, which we swear by at this point in time, and they actually have a new side opening deck box. If you haven't seen it, I know that's a new popular style of deck boxes to be around. So definitely take a look at those if you haven't. I think at this point in time, due to there not being very much competitive stuff, we may lean towards not podcasting next week. But it kind of depends on what HasCon has to offer, I think. So maybe we just have a shorter episode that's focusing on HasCon stuff, maybe, but maybe not. But either way, I think we're going to launch a new giveaway next week for the potential lack of or a shorter episode. So keep an eye out for our Twitter for details on that and how to enter.
If it makes you sad that we wouldn't be on next week, don't worry, because we'll be back the week after with the Palooza.
Yeah, the Palooza.
So you'll trade off 1 hour for us for 4.
4. Yeah. So question of the week, this one's going to be kind of probably short but sweet, I think, and really we want to talk about how we deal with a bad loss. So how do you deal with a bad loss? Could be a misplay or just losing a big match, winning in top 8, finals, whatever, etc. So what's the start? I mean, I can start. I lose a lot of Magic. I'm pretty accustomed to it. I don't necessarily, put as much time or effort. I also don't think I'm not as naturally good at the game as some of my compatriots. And so as far as losing, I'm definitely the first to look inward rather than outward as far as reasons why I lost. So I tend to do that a little bit more than try to blame outward circumstances. I've probably gotten a little bit worse than that as of recent history. Probably I would tell myself I'd be self-effacing with that. But I don't usually let things get to me. I'm pretty even keeled as far as like emotions and like losing. So losing like a big match, sucks. But I think you first have to self-analyze. You first have to see like what did I do wrong, and then if you can highlight that. And what I like to do is typically people are around and watching who are my friends. And I like to just consult with them and see what they saw and like get feedback. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people, or some people, just may not be receptive to, or be ready for immediately. But I try to be that. Like I try to like if Mike or Dave or anyone else is around, it's like, okay, you after this you'll have to tell me what I did wrong. And that's kind of where I am in a lot of ways with difficult matches of Magic. I'm not perfect, and I know that I make a lot of mistakes, and I definitely like know when I made a mistake, and sometimes I just need help like identifying it, because where I thought I made the mistake might have been not exactly that spot. It might have been further back or something like that. So that's typically what I like to do. I typically go into like analysis mode, like what did we do wrong, and then as in typical human fashion, try not to repeat my mistakes. But alas, here we are, repeating mistakes.
Well, I think like it's not necessarily what did I do wrong, because like you said, like sometimes it's not actually that apparent. But I think you have to look at it like, what could I have done differently? Because sometimes it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like
obviously.
if your opponent just nut draws you, it's like it doesn't really matter.
I think it's also like another important aspect is like you can't like overanalyze, like, oh well, if I did this and this, like sometimes you just get beat. Like it just happens, and that's okay. That's expected. Magic is not like it's not like chess. It's a game of variance, and sometimes the variance just isn't on your side.
And you need to understand that like that's part of the game too. I think like a lot of newer players might like tilt off with that, or like just maybe question why they even play. But it's like that's that's part of the deal. Like you just have to know that sometimes there's nothing you can do, and you just have to be okay with that. You don't have to be happy about losing, but just understand that it's not always gonna work out for you.
I think that's something I really had to work on. Like it's not a huge like surprise. I've talked on it here before, but like my Twitter handle being Big Tears, I earned that from being a person who tilts and complains. And I worked really, really hard on that, and on trying to recognize that idea. And like I wrote about it a couple years ago, an article for Legit, and sort of examining where that came from. And I really do feel like I've gotten a lot better about it. And I guess you guys can attest because you have to listen to me more than others do. So, have I gotten better about it?
I would say I don't think you like tilt off without like reason. But and I think you handle it better too. I think like if you, I think when like there's the potentiality there, and you just kind of go away.
Yeah, I've also been a lot better in those situations, just like trying to exit situations.
Like, you're just like I'm gonna go somewhere.
Like walking, and it doesn't mean I don't go out and do, I've done it a couple times where I've like walked out and like when I'm by myself, I've like screamed obscenities. You know what I mean? Just like you got to let it out. But this is separate from Magic for me though. Like I'm a person who I need to keep myself fairly. Like you mentioned being even keel, I have to keep myself calm because I have a temper. I get it honestly from like my parents, and just like I have a temper, and like my wife jokes with me about this all the time because I'm actually pretty calm. I don't let a lot of things stress wise get to me over the long term, and like that feels like I've really had to like train myself to be that way so that things don't affect it. Because if I do get angry, like I don't have a good way to stop myself from being angry. I perpetuate it, and that happens in Magic as well. Like I definitely I feel like I'm much more satisfied by good matches. I get very angry in situations that I feel like I guess like wronged, but the point of tilt is that like you feel wronged more often than you actually are. So, as far as like big losses, like there have been losses that felt devastating. The first time I lost in the top 8 of the RPTQ when we were in Indy, like it felt like it felt more devastating like than anger, just from the sheer fact that I felt like I had failed, and that is something that I have tried to move past, like just like be calm, and like I try to really work hard on resetting myself. Like I walk away from those things and just sort of like think about something else, or I listen to music, or I do whatever I can to go away from it. And I've done a good job of resetting myself. I don't let them linger like I used to. I don't forget them, Like if I've made errors, like I remember them very distinctly in my head constantly. But I can also say that I've been on the receiving end of I'm not trying to transition. I apologize because that's not what I'm trying to do. But I have been on the receiving end of some really, really like astronomically strange punts, like in the public eye, like on camera. And
you've definitely killed things at sorcery speed that should not have died to anything at sorcery speed,
like an Aetherling or a Pearl Lake Ancient,
correct.
Both of them. And
Weird.
like, I will say, sort of like seeing that on the other side too. Like like it does help to sort of humanize it. Like where it's just like, I can do this and you can do this. We're all capable of these things. You know what I mean? To see the play that happened at the Pro Tour. Obviously when you have the Hazoret attack, and then see he was tweeting this week about like he got attacked by a person who had 2 cards in hand by a Hazoret, and he was like, yeah, like like it happens, I've been there. Like, and it was interesting, like for him to like, I think that's sort of inspiring, is to see how others deal with it too, and be like, all right, we all did this, we all make these mistakes, and we can move on. So
and just think about like Lightning Strike now existing in the format and how that might happen less.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you can go combat and you'd be like, well, because like you could do that. So like the beginning of combat, Lightning Strike. Keep that in mind, boys and girls.
But yeah, I mean, you're going to lose. You're going to have more big losses than big wins in Magic. It's just the way it's going to go. There's only one person that wins the tournament. So even if you're top 8ing every tournament, you're probably not winning every tournament.
Yeah.
So
unless apparently, well, if you're top 8ing every tournament because you're Corey Baumeister, apparently.
yeah. But he hasn't won one. He hasn't won any of those GPs.
He still keeps trying.
But yeah, I think you hit it where not necessarily like ask yourself. I mean, you can kind of look back and say, what could I have done differently? Would that have actually affected the outcome? I mean, you can even ask your opponent. I mean, a lot of opponents will actually say, well, I thought you were going to do this, and I would have been really worried. And that's something that you can take away and say, maybe next time I'll be a little bit more aggressive with my line or whatever. I think you just have to try to learn from it. I mean, that's all you can really do. That's the only way to turn a negative into a positive. If you just stay down on yourself, then it's only going to hurt you in future tournaments or future rounds, whatever. So yeah, the reason why we did this question is because I had a fairly one of the astronomical punts that Mike talked about. That was what I did in the Cube Invitational this week. So
yeah, so this is top 8.
Top 8. I'd say I was probably 99% to win the match, except for if I punted, and I did. And basically, it involved Mike had 2 Blood Artist effects, right? You had actual Blood Artist and Falconwrath Noble, and one other creature in play, a Bone Picker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a board of like a bunch of Spider tokens, had Teamer Sabretooth, Eternal Witness going, like 1,000,000 mana, like just going crazy. All I had to do was basically just close out the game, and then I recurred a Fire Spout with my Eternal Witness, and then cast it using red mana, which killed everything, and then I died to 1,000 Blood Artist triggers. Whereas if I do it for just green mana, I clear out his fires, take some damage, but not actually dead, and then probably...
No, you end up at 8.
Yeah, probably take it from there. So.
I'll try again. I can remember these board states.
Now... Yeah, and I thought about it, and and it's Cube Invitational. It's not a series, it's not a PTQ Finals or something like that where I'm really kicking myself because I mean,
again, it's the most important tournament in the Midwest.
I will say it was embarrassing because there were a lot of my friends
because you're around our group of friends, and all of our group of friends are terrible people.
I will hear about this forever,
forever.
So
like that'll be on your tombstone.
I'll have you know that I harass you about anything I can because it's who I am.
Yeah.
But I've already told you I'm not. This is not one. I am really going to tread lightly on this one because it's not for me. It's not for me to do.
I want you to tell me what my face looked like too, because all right, when this happened, it wasn't. I honestly I was not thinking, and clearly, if you do something like that, you miss something. Maybe you didn't know how cards worked. For me, I think if I'm trying to explain how it happened, I think it was just fatigue. I mean, it was a long day.
It's a super long day.
I mean, this was the 3rd draft that we did. Like I said, I I don't really get breaks. Like I'm always shuffling or doing whatever. Like I don't get to just chill out in between rounds. So I was kind of on autopilot at that point. Like didn't really think about it. And I think if I was thinking, I think I was thinking, well, I'll clear out his board and forgetting that my creatures dying also triggered the Blood Artist and not just his. Anyway, but yeah, I think I was just I just did it, and then you said resolves, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was.
Oh,
It was a
no.
little weird. And I will say, if you're like sitting there going like, I tried to concede. I did try to concede. He wouldn't let me.
No,
So-
yeah, no, I wanted to own it. I made a mistake.
And I got crushed by Bobby in the next round. So there you go.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, the last round of Swiss, I went 5-0 and then played against Chase in
yeah.
our last round. And Morgan can attest. He watched me play probably one of the worst games of Magic I've ever played. Like I could not going back and looking at that game. I made some decisions that were just like I could not justify to myself afterwards. And I think part of that I had said like I didn't like sleep at all. So like this is there's a separate like question within this, but like there is something about fatigue here.
Yes.
Like obviously doing this
Fatigue
but-
and preparation.
And I did a lot of thinking about that for the rest of the night, and but I was also joking about it like the same night.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
I think like that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, we made some puns about it, but that's it.
Yeah.
That was my one night to say
Yeah.
anything, and like again, it's gone now.
I mean, no, it'll be there forever. It'll I'm sure it'll resurface at every cube. And, hey, remember that time? So I think you just got to have fun with it. I mean, it happens.
So to explain from my angle, what I saw, well, essentially, so in my mind, like I knew where I was. He used an ascetic slime to blow up my only white source early in the game, and then I just proceeded to brick on lands for multiple turns. I stayed somewhat in the game because I was able to cast a Bone Picker the next turn, and, like force some damage through. I hit a white source, played the Falconwrath Noble, and like knew that like I couldn't stop his recursion of the Eternal Witness. I needed him to do something or to take a slower line to give me a chance, because I had outs of a sack effect, and then or I had a sack effect, and I had like token generators. So he was at a low enough life total that like it could be done. This is why I've not already conceded. And then I watched him bring back and literally the way I was sitting, like as soon as he like cast like the fire spell for 3 green, like that's I'm done. Like I know I'm done there. And I'm like okay, and then watched him play out all his cards. He didn't immediately play the fire spout. He was doing other things first. And then you tapped, and I looked, and I watched you tap your 3 lands with a mountain forest, and then like you cast it, and you just like looked at me like this, and I was like resolves, and then like it was this moment of just like, and then you darting down with your eyes, and then back up and going, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what it was. Like you had like this like really quick like glance, but it wasn't like anything crazy.
And I was playing really fast too, which was
oh yeah,
probably,
I was F6. Like I was like you do whatever you got to do.
Which it's just like I think for me, like it was almost like I said, it was autopilot. It was just not thinking, like just trying to get the match over with. Where it's like, if you're in a scenario like that, and especially on a top 8 and it's untimed rounds, it's like you really should like take the extra time.
Yeah, just to, like
just to make sure.
Yeah.
So that all leads up to epic punt, and I'm not usually the player that like makes those kind of like onboard things, like I might take some other lines that might be questionable sometimes, but usually onboard stuff I don't really fall into. So yeah, it happened. I think I was upset about it, but I'm not going to let that linger with me. I think I'm just going to joke about it, move forward, and
That's
it is
understandable.
what it is. Like I said, I'll own it. I won't ever do that again. So
It's like the things they carry concept, right? Where you're just like, it's part of you, and you remember
yeah,
it.
that's
you know
it.
What I mean?
I'm gonna have a fire spout in my wallet all the time now, like Chris Pagula. And
Please don't do that. I'll feel real bad if you do that.
Nah.
I like Chris Pagula. I don't want to be the enemy in this scenario.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Oh, there we go.
Awesome. I think it was a good discussion. And that'll close out our show for this week. So again, no big events except for HasCon, and that is big. But it's not something that'll be truly competitive, really. But I'm excited to see what the 25th anniversary Masters has in store for us. So keep your eyes locked on Twitter, I imagine, for all those sweet cards to show up. And like I said, we'll likely take next week off, and then we'll come back with the Palooza the week after, and really be able to talk about all those sweet new cards coming out. So again, big shout out to our two sponsors, Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Check them out on their respective Facebook pages. And while you're on Facebook, check us out. Do a quick search for At Your End Step, and we pop right up. Give us a like, and stay tuned to that page and our Twitter, which is just Your End Step, to see when we do our giveaway next week, so you can join in and have a shot at winning something sweet. Also, check out our Patreon page, www.com. www.com, that's not even anything. What am I doing?
www.patreon.com.
www.patreon.com/@your-end-step. If you want to take a look at some of our contribution tiers that you can, contribute to the show every month and give us a little money per show, and we give you some various options and bonuses. I know I've been pretty lax about trying to get out stickers. I know I still need to mail out some. I do apologize. Life is just hard sometimes, I guess, and that's no excuse or a bad excuse, but I'll get them out tomorrow when the mail services continue, since today's a holiday. And you, of course, have extra chances at winning some of the prizes that we are going to have in our giveaway. So now might be a good time to join up and get some extra shots at winning one of our awesome BCW Supplies products. But if you download us via iTunes, feel free to give us a review. They do help us out with visibility and getting new listeners to the show. And if you downloaded us via MCG Cast, feel free to check out some of the other awesome shows that are on there. But that is going to be everything for this week. We do thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.